There's a moment during the Marineford War where Doflamingo says something strange. He isn't shouting, he isn't threatening anyone. He's laughing. And while the entire battlefield argues about justice, he makes a quiet observation. Pirates are evil, the Navy is righteous. That's what people say. But Doflamingo points out something uncomfortable. Justice changes. Those who win the war decide what justice means. The victors write the history. And when you hear that line for the first time, it sounds like something a villain would say. But the more time you spend thinking about it, the more it feels like Doflamingo might understand the world of One Piece more clearly than almost anyone else. Most characters in One Piece believe the world runs on ideals. The Marines believe they represent justice. Pirates talk about freedom. Revolutionaries fight for liberation. Each side believes they are on the right side of history. They believe their values are what give the world meaning. But Doflamingo doesn't see the world that way. He almost never talks about ideals. He talks about power. From Doflamingo's perspective, the world isn't organized around what is right. It's organized around who has the power to enforce their version of what is right. This idea appears throughout history. Political thinkers sometimes describe it as realism, the belief that states and institutions aren't guided primarily by morality, but by power, survival, and influence. Under that view, justice isn't a universal principle. It's something that gets defined by whoever controls the system. And in many ways, that's exactly how Doflamingo sees the world in One Piece. To understand where that worldview comes from, it helps to look at where Doflamingo started. He was born a celestial dragon. In the world of One Piece, the celestial dragons sit at the very top of the global hierarchy. They are the descendants of the 20 kings who founded the world government. They exist above the law. They don't answer to anyone. And from the moment they're born, the world treats them as if they were gods. For a child like Doflamingo, that environment teaches a very simple lesson. Power defines reality. But then something happens that shatters that reality. Doflamingo's father makes a decision. He gives up his status as a celestial dragon. He believes his family should live as ordinary people. It's one of the strangest choices in the entire series. A man willingly abandoning absolute privilege. But the world they enter isn't the peaceful place he imagined. The people they meet know exactly who they used to be, and the resentment runs deep. What follows is one of the most brutal sequences in One Piece. The crowd captures the Don Quixote family. They hang them in the streets. They torture them. They treat them the way celestial dragons had treated others for generations. For Doflamingo, this moment reveals something terrifying. The world didn't suddenly become moral. It simply changed who held the power. Yesterday, his family stood above everyone else. Today, they were the ones being punished. The roles reversed overnight. This is the moment where Doflamingo's worldview begins to take shape. Most characters who experience injustice begin questioning the system. They ask whether the world should change. Doflamingo reaches a different conclusion. He realizes the system was never moral to begin with. It was always about power. The celestial dragons weren't righteous leaders. They were simply the group strong enough to dominate the world. And when his family lost that power, the story about who deserved justice changed instantly. For Doflamingo, this becomes the central truth of the world. Justice isn't permanent. Justice belongs to whoever wins. There's a phrase that appears often when historians talk about war. History is written by the victors. It doesn't mean every story is a lie, but it does mean that the people who win conflicts usually control the narrative afterwards. They decide which events matter. They decide which actions were justified. And in many ways, Doflamingo believes the world of One Piece works exactly like that. The Navy represents justice not because it is morally perfect, but because it has the power to enforce that label. Once Doflamingo understands this, his approach to the world changes. He stops trying to challenge the system directly. Instead, he learns how to move inside it. He becomes a warlord of the sea, a pirate officially sanctioned by the world government. At the same time, he builds a massive underground empire. Weapons, artificial devil fruits, deals with pirates, kings, and criminals. To an outside observer, it might look like chaos. But from Doflamingo's perspective, the system makes perfect sense. Power flows through institutions. Control those institutions, and you control the story. Dressrosa becomes the clearest example of this philosophy. Doflamingo doesn't simply conquer the country. He reshapes it. He becomes its king, controls its economy, controls its information. Even the memories of the citizens begin to change. People forget what happened before he took power. In a strange way, Dressrosa becomes a miniature version of the global system, a place where power determines which story people remember. This is what makes Doflamingo such an unusual antagonist. Most villains in stories oppose the system. They want to destroy it. Doflamingo does something more unsettling. He accepts the system completely. He simply wants to sit at the top of it. Which brings us back to Marineford. The war is supposed to be about justice. Pirates fighting the Navy, the world watching. But Doflamingo doesn't see a moral battle. He sees a struggle between powers. And he already knows how the outcome will shape the narrative. Whoever wins the war gets to define what justice means. This doesn't make Doflamingo a hero. He's cruel, manipulative, responsible for immense suffering. But his worldview reveals something uncomfortable about the world of One Piece. While many characters believe justice is something pure and stable, Doflamingo believes it's something far more fragile, something shaped by power, and something rewritten whenever the balance of power changes. And maybe that's why he laughs so easily in the middle of war. Because while everyone else is arguing about what justice means, Doflamingo already understands who gets to decide.